Buddy, it's another 6 a.m. Pacific time webinar with Rob Berry. This is webinar number 26, Friday, June 8th. We're doing part 2 of the iOS development, hopefully with WM17, right? So one of the things that I want to remind you guys, WXDevCon, you guys know that you guys see the little ad here. Go ahead to wxdevcon.com and Tim will be happy. Okay, let's see. But let me go clear chat and with no further. Oh, so what we're going to be doing is steps 5, 6, 7, and 8, and I'll let Rob take it from here. So I'm going to make your screen big right now. Let's see. Guys like to have the chat open, so I'm gonna. Sorry, boy. Oops. Come chat on the bottom like I did last time, and just make it flat. So it's bigger. I think it could be bigger, but that's as good as it gets.
We
So
can use
go
the
ahead.
Skype chat for anything, but okay.
No. Here we go. All yours.
Okay. Well,
Good morning, Rob.
good morning. It's 9 o'clock here. It's fine. You're the one who has the rough mornings. Okay. Last week we went over the iOS development on WinMobile 17. We're going to go just briefly over part of it again, and we're going to bring it over to Xcode and what would be required to put your new app onto the App Store. So a few things that you need to do prior to publishing is once you're done testing and everything is as you want it. We talked about it last week about if you had extra code. There is a command that allows you to tell it to not run this code if you're in simulator mode, and I tried using it, but I did something wrong. So because I only have one line of code, I just commented out. So you have to remember to remove the comments so that that code would work. Once you go to and then once, like I said, everything's done, you go to your iOS button. Obviously, it gives you the standard little warning thing. Now, you need to make sure that if you've been using a development certificate where you can just do anything you want with any app, but you're going to be using something like a push notifications or whatever, you have to make sure this identifier or bundle, Apple calls it a bundle, is correct for your certificate. From this point to here is standard for all of your apps. It's pretty much what you designed, the name of your company. From this point over is the name of your app. If you're using your general development certificate, you'll have an asterisk there. So you need to change that to the name of your app. Now this is the other place, once again, where you put your little icons of the application. This is what shows on the App Store. You can do it here, or you can do it in Xcode. I personally would probably tend to do it in Xcode because the Apple, I'm very comfortable in doing graphic work with the Apple and cutting, paste, and Photoshop and all that stuff to get the look I want. But if you've got the tools on your Windows machine, you can do it here. It'll all translate over. This point here is a startup image. Once again, this is Apple's little trick to make it look like your application starts up immediately. But in reality, it's kind of like a splash screen, but it's not to be used as a splash screen. It's a picture of your first opening screen. So in my case, when I'm ready to do this, I will use this running on my phone. I'll hold the power button and the home button down at the same time, and it takes a snapshot of the screen. And then when I sync my phone up, there's my screenshot. You're going to do this for another part of this project, but when we get to that, I'll show that. Okay.
So that's mandatory. So if you don't have that there, they won't even.
No, yeah, you need something in there. It'll be rejected if you don't have your startup.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you have your versioning, which doesn't affect Apple. You have your frameworks that you're adding on to the project, so that there. Not sure exactly what you would put in this, but I'm sure there's something. Uh, you know, what might be doable here is there's a file that you could use for configuration. It's a plist file. Possibly you can generate your own plist, and then I believe it's all in XML. So you could probably have that as a default, or if you had to do some configuration stuff in your app, and you wanted to have a default setup, this is where you would put that file in. As for the minimum OS, personally, I just leave it at 4.1. I don't see any real reason to change that. And then you're done. Now the system's going to generate your Xcode project. So what you do is you just copy this whole file. What I do is I'm in a VM world, so I have the shared Apple directory here. Just put in my documents. I have all my projects here. Paste it all over.
Hey, can that be a network drive? Will the Apple see a network drive on a Windows
Yeah,
network?
you would see it. This
Probably.
is essentially a network drive. It's just on my one machine. So you could set this for another network. You can save to a network drive. Because I'm on the same machine and it's a virtual directory thing, it just works fine. But the Apple world is really very easy to work with networks. It sees everything very easily. So
Okay.
now at this point, you're pretty much done with WinMobile. So now we're going to go over.
You're done. This is it. This
From
is
this
as far
point
as
on,
it
you're in
takes you, huh?
Xcode. So we'll bounce over. We're on my other screen now.
No, you got to bring it over.
All right.
It started up, but we're looking at Locker Buddy again. Oh wait, let's
main
see.
display. I'm sorry. I selected the wrong. I think I selected the wrong
working
one.
right then.
Actually, okay. All right. Well,
There you go.
that's
That
an
looks
old
more like.
version. So let me put up the one I just. Hit. Okay. Now we're in Xcode. This is. I'm going to show you where some of the stuff that I've talked about before is located in Xcode. Real quick. I know I did it in the last webinar, but let's just go over it again. Right here, these are your app icons. This is there's two of them. One's for the Retina, one's for the standard display. This is what shows up in the App Store. This is your launch image. Yep.
So wait.
Yep.
Rob. So when you opened up
I'm
Xcode, what
sorry.
file did you
Yes.
open
I'll
up?
do
It
it
looks
again
like it
here.
says Xcode Proj. Is it, so
In my folder, there's one file here
So
called
in that folder that you
the name of
had,
the file, Xcode. What? Okay, the
oh, I
directory you
see.
need from WinMobile is this one, and you copy the whole directory over. That's a folder,
Okay,
and that
.gen
folder
was a
holds
folder,
all
not a file. Okay,
your
got it.
everything from all your goodies. Yeah. Okay.
Your goodies.
But the file you want to open is this one. No problem. I jumped ahead. I
Okay,
should.
thanks. Sorry about that.
Okay. So back in WinMobile, when it asks you for the app icons, if I put anything in, that's where these would be. The startup or launch images would be here. Now there's two sections. There is the iPhone section, and there's the iPad section. You could limit device options to say what you want, but you'd have to prevent it in code and stuff from rotating, and you can turn rotation off. I'm not sure if there's a setting in WinMobile to do it, but you can do it very easily in code. It's just a simple call to turn off rotation. But you could specifically, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But people expect it. People would expect you to make it work, right?
And so
So,
here's the iPad. As you can see, a little bit bigger. But with iPad, you have two different launch images, landscape and portrait. If you roll over, you'll see it tells you what the specs are for that view. So this is a 768 by 1004, 1536 by 2000. So, and they have to be that. You can't, don't deviate. Just, there's a real, on the Apple, there's a real nice trick in preview that you can do to change it. If when you open it up, you can actually resize in preview and then you save it. So I take my high resolution version of my icons or screens, throw it into the preview, Apple preview, change the size, save it as underscore retina or underscore standard, and then I just drag those images over from the media library. Oh, that's over here. I do everything on the Mac. I'm
so
just
you
very
do
comfortable
everything on the
doing all my
Mac as
graphics
far as
editing on the Mac. So,
graphics go, huh?
you know, I know there's a lot of people say, well, the app that Windows has just as many tools for doing that stuff, and it does. But I'm just more comfortable working on the Apple. All right, so now some of the key things is you have to get your codes. Now, when you go into the iTunes, I mean, we're not doing iTunes Connect yet. Let's just go here to the portal, log in. I don't know if it still has me in. Time's out after a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I'm a developer. I'm an official developer, by the way.
All right. So now when we go to the portal, if you've been working on your standard certificate for development, you'll need to start making your distribution ones. Just turn my volume down here. So first you have your Apple IDs. So because you've been doing everything with a standard development, you've not created an ID for your project. These IDs are per project. If you notice, they've got the name of, here's my general one. See, it's got the asterisk next to it. It just works for anything. I can take this certificate, drag it into any project, and it will allow me to put it on my phone. But if I want to use any push or in-app purchases, you have to create a separate one. Personally, although you can develop and deploy using a general, management-wise, it might be nice just to be able to have a name for each, and that way you can identify each of your projects. The generator certificate, though, when you create, I'm not going to create a full new one, but I'll just show you what the screens are. You give it a description. Your team ID is set for everything. And then your bundle identifier. That is where you give it the specific name. And the bundle identifier that you put here has to match the bundle identifier that is in your project. Just hop over there real quick, and you'll see right here, bundle identifier. What's there is what you put here. So the easiest way to make sure you get it right is just copy and paste. So once you create your Apple ID, I'm just going to cancel that. You create a new provisioning profile. Give it a name. Select who the developer certificate is going to be under. It'll be you, unless you have multiple developers, but typically you can allow just one developer to actually work on an app. The other developers can't see it, but I don't think many of us are going to have multiple developers running on our accounts. Choose the new ID and what device. Now, I'm going to jump a little bit. I don't know if Glenn has come on. He said something, and I think most of you may do this as well. If you are developing for a specific customer and they do not want to put their app on the store, yet you want to provide them with obviously the app so they can load it onto their devices. What you need to do is you need to add devices. Now, I've not done an upload devices yet, so I'll just show how to do the standard. Hold on, we'll go back to this in 1 second. Let me just show you. On the Apple, if you go to the organizer for Xcode, you go to devices. You can get this through, I believe, iTunes as well. So if the individual customer doesn't obviously have this, they can get this information, I believe, through iTunes. This identifier number right here is what you need. What they'll need to do is they need to copy and paste into like an email or something, some form, some document, all the IDs that they want to have the app installed on. You take that information now and you add that device. You give it a name and you paste that number on here. You do this for all of the devices that you want to put. You're going to want to put on the app. What I would recommend in the device name is, let's just say you have 5 customers and you're writing apps for all 5 customers. You're going to have a lot of devices because if each customer has 20 devices, it's 100 devices you need to manage. So I would personally create in the device name kind of your own bundle identifier. In other words, the name of the company dot the person's name that's device. That way at least you can easily do the next step. So once you've done that and you've got the devices in here, when you go to create the new profile, down here where it says devices, you're going to see a list of all the devices that you have in your devices list. So that's one of the reasons why you'd want to make your own little identifier saying what the company name is, because you don't want to put a device in that's not for a specific company. Also, you're limited to 99. I'm sure there's a way around it. I know there's supposedly some business-to-business setup I haven't looked into, but right now, the way I know ad hoc to do is this is how you do it. So you would select all the devices you want to create the provisioning certificate for that. Have I lost anyone yet? Actually, that was if you notice here, it was development I was in. You would go to distribution. It looks the same, just a little different. Once you select your device, see, this is App Store, this is ad hoc. That enables this here, 100 devices for distribution. So then you would select. So that's how the ad hoc works. I should have gone to that in the first place. So that's under distribution. Select the ad hoc, give it a profile name, you know, this company. Choose the app, that's their app, and then select all the phones that are on their account. Okay. Once you're done, this will go through some, submitted and all that. You hit download, and it creates a provisioning profile. You then drag that into Xcode. Once you drag it in, you will see in your build settings, when you went to the code sign, you will see it listed here. Now, that would be under release. I'm sorry. You go under release and you pick your distribution. You can just do this and it will match your bundle identifier with your distribution identifier. Like I have said this a couple times, this is very confusing and it takes a while and a few times to actually get it clear in your head. But once you've done it a few times, yeah. Now, here's the fun part.
Well,
As you can see, we have these
used to it
code sign
already. This is the
identifiers.
third time I've seen
When
it.
we want to create
No, I'm
our
boy,
distribution
that's
to
something.
go onto the App Store, let me go back to what I did. You click up here. Here's where you choose what you want to test on. You have to select an actual physical device to do this next step. You can't do it on your simulator. You have to do it on a phone. You then hit here, edit the scheme, select the app. You can have a bunch of them here. I just have the one. When it says build configuration, you have to click to release. Okay. No, you can bounce back to debug. The next step you
Is
do
that a point
is
of no return
kind
or?
of, it sounds odd. But
Okay.
once you've done that and you've got your distribution certificate set up, you go up to your product and you select archive. Now it's going to fail because I didn't create an actual certificate. What this does though is this, you know what, let me load my other app that's got all the certificates right. All right. So once again, oh, I'm sorry, not really. I'll show that step in a second. Yeah, I forgot about that. All right, distribution, archive. What it's doing now is it's building the actual app that gets submitted to the App Store. There is another step before this called clean. Some people say do it, some people, they just say you do it just to be safe. It just, I guess it cleans out all the object files and makes sure everything is optimized and gets rid of any junk. It takes about a half a second. That's why I do it all the time too. I'm just saying it. I don't want to say things on here and have somebody come back and say, "Oh, you don't have to do that." Yeah,
So why wouldn't you do it?
it's in the project.
Okay.
Clean. No issues. We're good. All right. Now, I created the archive. And here it is. The next step is you validate it, which you go through the App Store. It does all this for you. Okay, now it sees here no applications. This is an update. Yes? Yep. No. We'll go to that in a second. Now, I have an
Now,
update that I'm doing.
Rob,
So I have
this
not
iTunes
told
Connect,
iTunes
this
Connect
is
that I have an
not your
update.
regular
That's
iTunes.
why it
This is
failed.
something else, right?
But the validate and then distribute are the steps in which you actually upload to the store. Let me go to that. Like I said, it's tough when you have an app that's not ready yet to have this done. But we can at least go through the motions and you can see. Let me create a new tab here. I used to have an iTunes Connect up here. What you're gonna right? Well,
And is our goal to just
you
see it
test.
on
I would personally, I
the
would test
device
in
first before
WinMobile,
we move it up?
bring it over to Xcode, test it on Xcode, test it on a phone, make sure everything's working great, then switch over to your distribution certificate.
Okay.
Because once you switch over to distribution and you build it, you can't run it on your phone. That app, that file, that archive is not really, you can't install it on your phone. At least I haven't figured out how to. There might be a way. Yeah, because it's marked for the App Store. Now, if I marked it as ad hoc, I could do it, and then I'd have to switch it back to App Store. That's probably the workaround. If
So
you
that's
really
the
wanted to
turning
test
point
your
right there.
distribution
Okay.
certificate and everything on your phone, you create an ad hoc, in which case then you just drag that file that it creates into iTunes. So if you did an ad hoc for everybody, you take the file that you generated and you email it to them with the instructions to take this file, drag it into iTunes, and iTunes will then install it onto a phone with the number that was submitted. So it's just because you have the file doesn't mean you can install it on any phone you want. It's only the ones that had that unique identifier supplied. So now iTunes Connect is your access to the App Store. I did go over this last week, but we'll just do a quick. You get all kinds of information like your sales and trends for whatever period of time you want. Just give it a second. Yeah, here's my app is not officially released yet. They're still prepping all the menus and everything, so
Oh yeah, you showed this.
not showing much, but I have about 19 people have downloaded it. So let's see. Now, contracts. This is where you set up all of your. Like if you're doing free, you don't really need to do anything. You just set up your iTunes account, iTunes Connect account, and you're good to go. But if you want to do paid accounts, you need to supply banking information and all that stuff and tax IDs, the IADs for the world. Same thing. It copies a lot of the same stuff over. I just had to agree on the contract, that's all, to get the IAD going. Payments and financials, I haven't earned any money because it's all free, but you can look and see how much you've made so far per app. Here's where we're talking. Now, you say add a new app. You answer these questions. You create the SKU. My SKUs are restaurant ID, so it's R001, 002. That's how I'm doing this one. bundle ID. This is key. These are the bundles that the IDs that you have created in your portal, developer's portal. So now you have to select the correct ID that goes with the bundle that you generated. Like I said, that name has to match. If that name doesn't match, you're going to fail that verification process. So you have to make sure you select the right one. Once you get through that, you're going to be asked, not this screen. Here. Okay, you're going to be asked a version number. You're going to be asked, obviously, who the copyright is, which it pretty much copies the stuff that you've already generated with setting up your account, but you can change it if you need to. Like if your customer is going to hold a copyright to the code, you put their name in, but typically you don't. It's going to ask you what type of app it is and a rating. If I go down here and show you that. All right, so here's a description of the app. Keywords that some of the stuff it asks when you create the app, and you can't change it until you do like an update. Apple wants to support website. They want to support email. They don't want you to submit something and not have any way for somebody who's downloading or buying your app to ask for support. So you need to create these items. Here's where you get the screenshots. So you would do that trick of holding the power button and the home button at the same time on the screen you want. You create at least 4. You can put more in, but they need at least 4. Same thing with the iPad. And you just simply upload these to the store. Yeah, because I haven't created a new instance of this, I can't show the ratings are done. It asks you a series of questions such as, do you mention alcohol? Do you mention anything about weapons? Is there any adult language? All that stuff. And based upon how you answer, it gives a rating, an age rating. So mine is approved for 12 and up, simply because I reference beer. That's all it is. Because I reference an alcoholic beverage, it makes it 12 plus. Over here you can see your versions. Gives you, an overview. Any crash reports that have come in. There aren't any. Details of your binary. Now, down here, the entitlements. That's the file that was created. These are the entitlements. What this basically tells you is that I have Apple push service environment is production, and my keychain access that's the bundle name. The application identifier is the same. Not that it matters, because by this time, if you've uploaded, it should be there, but you do have the ability to reject a binary and re-upload. So that's a good way after you've uploaded, just to make sure you selected the right thing and everything uploaded right. You check your entitlements, make sure they're all good. Because if Apple doesn't see this, pretty much matching this, they're going to reject your app. So why wait 5 days, find out that you rejected simply because the wrong bundle was set. Then you can look at your customer reviews and the resolution center. My first app was rejected. Here, reason, primary marketing. Because all I did was advertise the menus for the restaurant, and I had no interaction from the customers, they rejected. I added Facebook buttons onto all the menu items so somebody can share their experience, and it was approved. So all those requirements are documented on the Apple site, on the developer site. You can get all this stuff. They give you all kinds of suggestions on how to make your app better, how to make it more user-friendly and stuff. And it's worth watching the videos and watching and reading some of the documents because it'll save you a heartache in the end because it's basically a 5-day process every time you upload a version. Yeah. Once an app is approved, now when you submit the app, when you create it and submit it, it does ask you what your release date is. So let's just
Oh,
say
you
you
got to
assume
put that into
the
your
5
planning, huh?
days and you want
5
to have
days.
some control over the release. Make it, say, 10 days after the date of submission. Now you've got some play. You can change that date anytime. Okay, rights and pricing here. All right, here's the availability date. So if I change this date to another date, my app will no longer be on the store until that date. So it is a way for you to control it. Like I have a new version of this app going up, the Salt one. I'm going to probably change this date, and that way the final version is not available. So people who have downloaded it can still use the information and see it, but it's not going to be the final version. Then when we finally have the launch date, probably like the day before, that way I can make sure that there's no delay in Apple actually opening it up on the store. I will enable it, and then it will be on the store for when he has his launch party. You can set your price tiers. They are all set up for you. It tells you what the consumer price is and what you're going to make. There you go. Tier 87. You plan on what, selling one a year?
Yeah, mine's going to be way, way,
Oh,
way on the
okay.
bottom. What's the highest number you got?
And that gives you all the different
Yeah,
countries
that's
and the
mine.
price, the exchange rates.
Oh, this for drug dealers,
You can
so
put it on
whoever can
sale.
afford it.
You can
Yeah.
say, okay, we're going to be available from this date to this date. You can set all your tier schedule. So you can initially put your app up for free for 24 hours and then bump it up to $1.99 or whatever, or in Arnold's case, $1,000 the next day. And people will be cursing you for offering it free one day and then charging $1,000 each. But it gives you flexibility, and that way it manages it yourself. So you can decide to have a sale. So say it's a $5 app, and you can have it on sale for $2. You can set that sale date, and then it'll go back up to the 5 after that. You can offer discounts for educational institutions if you want. I don't know how to do that. Being that my app's free, it doesn't matter what I check. This is cool, and this sounds like, why not just open it up to the world? My thinking here is this. There are some of these countries listed here where, take Angry Birds, for example. That was launched to the world. Within hours, probably within days of Angry Birds coming out, there were so many people copying Angry Birds and coming out with substandard versions of that app and charging people. So the original developers lost something because people bought and said, "Oh, this is a piece of junk." But it wasn't Angry Birds; it was Angry Crows, or it was Angry. They just changed the name. The way I look at things, if my app has absolutely no use to somebody, in Angola, why offer it to them? My apps are for restaurants in the U.S. So I limit it to various places where I know that the person who I've written the app for has family, and he has some family in Ireland and Canada, that I've opened it up to those countries where there are people who we know would want to see it. So all those other countries, they don't have to look at it. I don't want anybody copying my app, so why expose it to somebody saying, hey, that's a great idea, and they come up with their own version. I know it's a little self-centered, but it's, I have that ability, so I figured why not use it. Yep. 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 I mean, I don't. I don't know. I do not know.
But
I
you can
don't
open
think it
up
does. I don't
countries
think it shows
one at
that.
a time if you wanted to too,
Um,
right? Yeah. Does every time you make changes like this, does it log it, like the date you did it, and I mean, is that like a turning point? Okay.
I think where they do
Because
that.
you know here you have
Uh,
like say you want to
let's
do
see
a
here.
discount and then you want to bring it up. You know how they always
See, it
go,
doesn't.
you know, prices raised or
I don't
prices
see
decreased.
anything here
I
about
just want I
seeing
was
the app
wondering if
history like that.
they show like a
Um,
history of
it shows it down here. You see this price tier schedule? So if you set a schedule, it will list them all here. You
Well,
know,
that would
so
be
if you
kind of
offered it
good to
free
know so you
for
can kind of
from
like
this date
plan
to this
ahead, right? It
date,
says I'm
and
gonna do
then
a
it went up
discount
to,
from here
you
to
know,
here, and then
$5,
it's
but
gonna
then
go
you say, you
back
know what,
up, and
Christmas
then they
time, I'm going to have it on sale for
yeah, maybe it's right there, huh?
whatever. So you could set all that up.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do a 99-cent sale for, you know, whatever, for the days after Christmas. Everybody's gotten their new iPhones and iPods, and you want to grab them and have them spend some money, offer it on sale. And that way, when they say, oh, look, I want to buy 99 cents, yeah,
99
I'll do that.
cents.
There you go. You go on sale from $9.99 down to $9.98, right?
Oh, good idea. I gotta have mine ready by
All right.
Christmas.
Now,
Okay.
I'm going to be doing this soon. I'm going to add a version. So when I do an add version, give it the version number, what's new, and then it starts asking a lot of those questions again, as for, you know, which countries and all that stuff. So you just go through the whole process. Once you do this, and I've created the version number in iTunes, in Xcode, I'm sorry. See the bundle version? That has to match. So I'll make this version 1.2. I'll have to create a version in iTunes Connect 1.2. So when I build this,
Bundle version.
yeah. I'm not sure if one fixes the
Oh,
other. I don't know why there's two. I've only
you
remembered
get
doing
the
this.
short one there too. Down
I
below,
guess all right,
like
well,
about
I'll make
8
sure I do
down.
both.
You got 1.1 there.
Maybe I
So you
did do
got two of
both.
them?
But making sure it's not some other location here.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, so you version and then probably in here 1.2, 1.2. So by fixing it under the
Man, I think
summary,
I need a
it changes
checklist
it
of all
in
these
your
things. So what?
properties. This
Oh,
file here is pretty cool, and if people start getting well into stuff, this is something I don't know how to access in WinMobile. But for my app, I created two
oh, that's good.
variables,
Yeah,
restaurant
that's good.
ID and restaurant phone. You can reference this in your code. You can go to this file and pull information. So I use this number in a lot of places because this actually references a directory, subdirectory on my server, that number. So by changing it in one place, I change it in 50 different other places. Because in my code, I go, see if I can just find one quick. See here, this line. NS bundle, main bundle, that's the main bundle.
In your app and
It's
your
the info
server.
directory,
Okay.
object with the key name, restaurant ID, and I'm going to do a string by adding basically percent. This is just stuff you put in. A lot of this as soon as you start typing, it automatically fills in some of these things. But this is basically telling the system, find restaurant ID and put it right there. So that makes it easy. Same thing with the phone number. If I go to the main, restaurant phone, I pull that with the same main bundle. I pull the phone number down, and then when they push the button in the center of the screen, it'll call them. It'll make the phone call. Yep. So once you cover all that other stuff, your app is ready to be put on the store, and you just have to wait. Now, one of the things that I didn't show, when you have an Apple, let me go to provisions. Okay, and you go to create. Second here. Does it allow me? No, I have to go through. All right, it's going to ask you for a certificate. There's a thing called keychain. Have it down here. Yeah, here we go. Keychain access here. So I'll show you. Okay, these are all the various certificates and everything that I have. You need to create a unique ID for your computer, for your system. It's a simple process. You go to Certificate Assistant, request certificate from authority, which is this here. Put your email address in. Give it a name that you can reference, that you know. So if it's for a specific app, you put the app's name. Save to disk. Just fill it out because it's no big deal. Continue. Where do you want to save it? Okay. As you can see, it just created the certificate. Now, in your portal, when you create a new certificate, it's going to ask you for that that certificate. Yes. That's keychain. That's an app on the Apple. Yeah. No, everybody has this. Every
Rob?
Apple computer has keychain.
I'm sorry,
Keychain is what stores your passwords. It stores all kinds of information. You can look at
keychain. I mean,
there's so many different
that's just
things
another
that
app,
it
right?
holds. Yeah. But this is where you get all your
But not
keys,
everybody
your
has that, right? Or just
certificates,
developers
all
that
sorts,
develop.
password management.
Everybody. Okay.
Everything's in here. But when it comes to developing your apps, it's going to ask you for
So
the
that
certificate.
manages all that, huh? Okay.
And that's where it is. Let me just cancel this. Double clicked it. Okay. Um, that once you generate that, you can use it a lot of different times. I just generate a new one every time because I don't want to. It's just easier. It's part of the whole
I gotta get used
procedure.
to clicking on the left side. Boy, I don't know how you do that.
Fortunately, I'd have to create a whole new. I'd have to go through all the steps. It's like the third step in. It asks you for that, and then you just upload it, And then what you'll get is you'll get under status, pending. And then you refresh a couple times and it says active, and then you can download and you're ready to go. It doesn't take long. It's not like one of those things where you have to wait 24 hours for it to come active. It'll be active within a couple minutes, if even that long. So this distribution basically just is how to do it. Everything is done here under the provisioning profiles. Yep. You come down here, get your applications. There's an assistant, and it walks you through. Select.
So Rob,
boom,
I know it seems like you're jumping all over the place,
create a
but
new. And this will step you
is there
through
a place here that is almost like a
doing
wizard?
everything.
Just go down the line, basically.
This is great. This is fine. But the problem here is if I just showed you this, the understanding of how everything works. I know, like I said, it takes a while to grasp because there's a lot of this, that development certificates, deployment certificates, all that. It can get confusing. But there is an assistant that helps you do it all. The reason why you kind of need to know this stuff is this. I keep harping on it because it's part of it. Push notifications. Right now, this one is for development. This version here, I've got development and production because that's my final product. When you're developing, your push notifications only go to your development device. When you go to deployment, push notifications are going to go to everybody. So therefore, you need two different certificates. If you try to submit your app to the App Store with a development push certificate, it will fail. It will be rejected. So you've waited 5 days and now you got to start all over again. So that's why I kind of wanted to show all the details of the certificates, because at some point you're going to want to switch from one to the other. You start using iCloud, that's just a one level because iCloud's iCloud. But when it comes to push, there's actually a sandbox and the final. It's a lot more. If people start doing this and want to do push in their applications, even the WinMobile pushes, maybe we'll do another webinar and I'll show everything about push notifications and how to enable them. And I'll even try to do it on one of these, so I'll have a test app. That's the only confusing part, is the push notifications. Everything else, once you enable it, it's there. It's in there. It doesn't matter. So if you're never going to do push, you can use that wizard on the front page day and night, and it'll generate everything you need to do what you have to do. Yeah. It's if everybody is somewhat like me, I like to know the nitty gritty.
Yeah,
And I hate when I have a
dove
question
into
and I
different
don't know
things
how to get
because
the
it
answer.
kind of showed us what
Like I said, you can use the wizard,
make changes,
but
come
now you
out,
also have
go
seen
back.
the
So
other side of it.
if you just had like a wizard,
There's
you don't
always those
know
little
if you
things that
can
catch
go
you, as
make
Arnold knows. This
modifications
past
or
week on
anything
this
like
app,
that. So
I had a hell of a time with loopers because I've never really used loopers before. I've only used tables. And now I had to use loopers. I was under the impression that when you select a looper and say that it's non-editable, because you don't want anybody to edit the information on the screen. That's actually, I think the better term is clickable, because I disabled the editing and I could not get a clickable image to work. Then I made it editable, and all of a sudden that's why I think that term should be more of a clickable rather than an editable, because you make the fields editable, you make the actual looper cell clickable. And once I did that, everything was working great. those little getches that get you all the time. You know, it's frustrating. You spend a lot of time, but I'll
That
never make
really
that
is.
mistake again. Same thing with these certificates. You know, you if you go to them, this actually happened, and I didn't tell you, Arnold, but I actually screwed myself up when I was showing you this stuff. I went in to configure one of these, and I changed the setting. I'm not going to do it on this. I disabled this, and then re-enabled it just to show them. Well, in doing that, I actually ended up deleting one of my certificates, and I got an email from Apple saying, okay, you've now deleted that certificate. So I've had to regenerate. It's not your fault. I had to redo it anyway because it wasn't configured right. So it's no big deal. But I had to reset it. So it was a little bit of an annoying thing, but it's fixable. But everything's fixable. You know, you can revoke, you can download it.
Oh, my
So this would be the
fault.
push notification certificate. Here's, if I want iCloud, you just click that. iCloud's enabled. I'm not going to bother because I don't want to mess it up. So having an understanding of how all this works helps, because you could do wizards all you want, but there's always that mystery of what's happening in the background. So I think I've pretty much covered. If anybody got any questions, let me open up. Needs me to repeat something, I'd be happy to. I just, I know I ran through stuff quick.
Yeah, I have the chat up on the right side, so if you guys want to type over there, go for it.
I don't know.
Oops, what did I just do? Oh, I know what it is. It's behind all this. What happened? Oh,
Hey,
it's
Tim.
behind all
Where's
this.
Tim? Got to show him. Blatant plug. There you go. Yeah, I saw Tim is on. I got to. There you go.
Any questions,
Well, anyway.
anybody? Anybody wants to take the mic, or want to see something over again, or do we
Oh, start sharing.
let
That's right.
Rob
There we
off the
go.
hook
There we
early?
go. Okay. There. Place to go to get all your stuff. Oh,
Wait, we gotta get that
yeah.
bigger.
Oh, is that what that little minus
Let me
sign
put it
means? He
up
stepped
on
away?
where you can see it.
Okay.
No, he stepped away for a second. Hey,
I
are you
guess
sharing something? You gotta say, start the webcam.
can't believe I answered all questions.
Yeah. So, I got a lot of questions. Any questions, anybody? Come
Yes.
on.
It was actually
Okay.
quite an
No, I think
experience.
they're like their heads stunned.
I've gone from sheer excitement
It is
about
so.
WinMobile
If
17
you had to
being
summarize
able to
on the
do Apple stuff, because I have a couple of
WinDev
projects
side,
that, although I can code it
the
in
steps you had to
Objective-C, I
do,
thought, you
is
know
it
what?
just like
They're kind
programming
of
any
database
other
intensive,
WinDev
so
app?
hey, why not use WinMobile? Because it's got the hyperfile. Then I got that delay where it was taking forever to load. Now, I should go over about that. Let me just stop my webcam here. What happened is last week we were talking about this, and somebody was on and said, yeah, they had the same problem with their hyperfile not loading stuff. Like there's a huge delay between accessing a piece of information and having stuff show up. And what I found was you need to do best way to do it is not to let it just to, hold on, let me get to the right. I don't have that window open. Oops. What's that about? Uh-oh. No, all my keys turned off. I went out and bought a new hub. What happened here? Why did all my dongles turned off on me?
Oh, that never happens.
Wish there was a way to name them. Yeah. All right.
Oh no.
Well, I don't know
Your
how long it's going to take for
dongles?
this to do what it has to do. It was
Oh.
basically, yeah, trying to close it, but it's not doing it.
Yeah, we just wish, huh?
There we go. Let's see. No. There we go. All right.
You might have to go all the way out, huh?
I was basically just going and loading my looper the normal way with going into contents and filling it. But I was having this delay, and I couldn't figure out
Oh.
why. It was really upsetting because I'm like, I can't produce a product that is this slow on the phone. Now, this was on the phone. When I did the test on the screen, it seemed fine. But as soon as I put it on the phone, it was slow. What I found the key is not to use the built-in stuff, but to use the looper add line. Created the filter and went with looper add line. Everything was ripping fast. It was beautiful. Yeah, I hand coded it. The doing the actual, when I initially was doing it with the the content with this file query, but it on the phone it was
So
slow.
you
It
start to do a
really was
hand code
it
then.
was painful.
You hand coded it, is what you're saying.
I'm hoping they fix that because obviously I'd love to do this because my next issue that my wife was looking at the app and she goes, "Can you make these alphabetized, the inventory items?" I'm like, I don't know. I have to figure out how to do that because I'm doing everything with that line. I've got to figure out how to sort my looper afterwards. Don't know if anybody knows how to. I tried to do the looper
Pathetic.
sort, but it wasn't doing it. There's a looper sort routine. I don't know. I might even have it in here. Yeah, looper sort, but it wasn't doing it. Now, another little tidbit.
Oh, I
Oh,
see.
yes. Oh, no, I can do it here. Okay. I found this out in a document that it's in the WebDev document, but I figure I must as well save somebody. Yeah, let me just make this what it should be. When you put a
Even if you're not
close,
doing this now, these little tidbits will
not
save you
close,
time.
the open, boom, boom, boom. Let me go to locker list. Okay. Okay. When you do an open child, from what I've read, I haven't tested it, but from what I've read, it does not matter where your code is located. If you put code before it and code after it, all that code gets run first, then the open child gets run. So code before the open child and then code after the open child gets run first, then the open child gets run. Which seems a little strange, but that's the documentation. I think it says in the document I sent you, Arnold, the other day. Remember that one that I... Yeah. Even if you put stuff like, I mean, it is kind of weird to put code after an open child because obviously you've now left that view to go to some new view. So, but they do all the code. And it
Yeah,
does
so
make sense,
row
but obviously
selection means
organizing your code, it seems
here's
kind of
all the
weird that you
things I
would
want
put
you to do,
anything
but they
after the
sort
open
what they
child. But
do in
don't
what
think you're putting
order.
something after the open child and it's not going to get run. It will. Yeah. Well, that's why I was just bringing that up because I thought that was interesting.
But they still do it, huh?
I think in my mind, I'd probably, if I had code that I was testing and I wanted to say, well, what happens if I don't? Normally you comment, but what if you cut and paste and you post after the open child thinking, it's not going to get run because it's the open child is going to run before that? No,
It's
it will
better
run
off they
it
don't
before
let
it
you
runs
do
the open
that,
child.
because that's confusing,
So
right?
something.
Uh,
So um, I was looking at. Let me just close this. I didn't change anything. The tic-tac-toe game is pretty cool. I haven't put it on a phone yet. I'm going to play with it. I was
so
looking at.
anything
Just
tricky
can't remember
about
the name of them.
starting up a new app or a good example app that
The
would be
notes I found to
like
be good.
representative for people to use?
Uh,
Short of
it
your
has some
tic-tac-toe
simple.
game, you know.
Um, it's a simple little thing, but it shows doing a looper as a gallery. With drawings. Is this where the code is? No, wait. Yeah, this. Oh, where was it? Was it in another one? There was one that has a whole bunch of procedures. Yeah, here we go. Just gives you a good idea of how to. Yep. It gives you a good idea of what's available. Run it. Oh, change your colors. Yeah, it gives you.
Can you do your
It gives you
can
some
you do your
nice
control can you do your control W or whatever it is to open up just
graphics.
the code area? Yeah.
Yeah, so I found that to be pretty neat to show how to save an image, save your pictures, and create create a reference to it. Oh wait, no, I'm so used to the other simulator still. The other one that I
Look,
found
Mom.
interesting was well, there's three. This one down here, the system one, is pretty neat. I haven't loaded it on my phone yet, but it gives you all kinds of information, and it gives you some samples of Objective-C code. But it gives you like system battery status. So it shows how to call. Like here, all right, that's that in simulator mode. So it will not run the iOS code. A way to block that. But down here it shows nice examples of how to create some more complex iOS code than I showed. Setting up your, what would be equivalent of your .h file. So it's, I can go through this code step by step, but it'll bore you all. It's, you know, if you look at these things and you're like, what does it mean when it does, you know, this, and what's the implementation? That's the .m file that you'd see in Objective-C. I can help you walk through it. I'm not going to do it in a webinar like this, because it'll just take forever. If somebody wants a webinar like this, we can do it. But right now, I'm just saying this is a good example if you want to see Objective-C code used in a WinMobile environment, because it has a lot. You know, it's dealing with a couple of frameworks. Where are they? Up here, you've got your Quartz code and your media player. So it's covering some cool stuff. Audio and video, yep. So this one is, I found really good to learn how they do. For example, I'm just going to do quick. I'm not going to go line by line, but you see that if you look in your objectives on your Xcode, you'll see a .m and a .h file. I briefly touched on it,
Is
but
the media both
if you look in your thing,
audio
you'll see in
and video?
your interface.
Yeah, I gotta
That's your
talk to you about that.
.h.
I gotta make one for my mom.
That's where you set up all of your variables and more. You can create function calls and all that. The .m is your implementation file. This is where you use all the stuff you did in your .h. And then this whole thing of synthesizing and stuff is doing setters and getters, and they manage a lot of the memory itself. And then this is, see this void display? This is where you define that routine. You'll see up here, we declare it with whatever variables or whatever parameters are going to be passed to it. Like I said, it can be quite a daunting task to try to do a webinar on this, but I mean, we could do it, but you'd have to have the right mindset, because you'd have to be talking about a lot of Objective-C stuff. You're happy to do it, but yeah, that would be another day. So yeah, to learn Objective-C, you know, part of it isn't that it's hard to do. A lot of it, like here, look at this real quick. This device here for battery level. Basically what you're saying is I want to get to the UI device frameworks. I'm creating a device that's just a placeholder for devices. Now the device I want to play with is the battery monitor. The battery monitoring, I want to enable it. Yep. Then I'm going to create a type of float called nLevel. I'm going to be tapping into the UI device, the current device that I'm on, that I'm running, and I want the battery level. And then once I'm done and I get it, disable them. You disable. Apple does a lot of that. When you create a view in memory, but once you're done creating the view and the view is done, you basically get rid of the view because the view is already created. You do a lot of this on-off. You don't leave anything on. You do it, you start it, you get your information, you shut it down. That's part of that's to keep your battery you're not using up a lot of memory and you're not using a lot of battery. Because obviously, if you leave this monitoring enabled all the time in your application, yeah, you'll have a constant data stream, but you really only need it for the instance in which you're doing this line right here. So you may turn it on and off 10,000 times a minute, but that's just the way they do things. And then you return the level. But, yep, we're in. No, this is the exact same code that I would use in Xcode. Yep. Yeah, that's the way Apple seems to work. You create, like, if you created a view, once you've used up all that, you release the memory. Now, they've gone into automatic ARC, it's called
And
automatic
that
release
Objective-C code,
setup,
that's just
where
done
you
with
used to have to do
WinDev
all that.
Mobile, right? In
Now,
Objective-C, you wouldn't have been doing that. You would have been
Xcode and
hiding
Objective-C does it for you.
or
So
no, you do the same
where
thing.
you may see some sample code
Oh,
out
so
there
you
that
do
has a
turn it
lot
on
of
and
that
off on that side.
release
Okay.
information,
Okay.
and then you'll see code without it. What happens though is if you have automatic release enabled for the application and you're running some old code that has the release, you're going to get tons of errors. There is a way to disable that, and if anybody needs to know, just get me on Skype and I'll tell you how. It's not that hard, but it's just a line of code you have to put in for your class. Right. Any Yeah. If you need to always have the system battery level, create a code brick of this code. And anytime you need it, there you go. You copy it over and you're done. This is all Objective-C code.
This stuff is showing you things that are not natively handled.
And if I go to run it, you're going to get the
Camera,
error.
right? So these are things that they're showing you. If you need to do these, you do these this way. So
no,
you can
they
always
actually
copy and paste
they have the
these
code in
kind of
there to
things.
prevent
If
it
you
from
had an
running.
inventory of
Yeah, from actually
this and this,
trying.
like this app or another app, then choose this. Right?
You have to select it as being, you have the code procedure that you set up, you have to say that it's going to be Objective-C. And then once you,
So I can't embed that like in. So
yeah, no,
so can I
they
embed
just
this
have to create a whole
Objective-C
bunch of
code in
procedures.
W language myself, or does it have
I
to
mean,
be
this one's
here where
intense
it's
because it shows everything, network
Obj-c
activity, and
and it says?
but and I will probably build this and put it on my phone one day just to see what it does. But they put in the code up here about being
And
in
you just got to
simulator,
embed
so it
it
won't
in
run
there
it.
and call it. And
It'll just look like it's running
because I
it, but
was
it's
trying
not
to
going to
think
run
of
it.
how can you get a
There's
library of these things and just
in
make the
iOS
calls and
simulator mode.
not have to do it
So
this way. Just make a class call, a method call.
do that.
Okay.
Give me a second. I'll just bounce this over here.
Oh, hey, let's connect your phone to it and put you on the web cam. Bring the webcam over.
See if it allows me.
This is like a music jam.
No. I'm going to try to put it on my phone. I just have to make sure that see if it's got the
Yeah, I
code
think I'm gonna
sign.
have to do this parallels just like you. I can't see moving stuff back and forth between two machines.
Yep.
Oh, you're gonna do it on their simulator. You're gonna do it on this. Oh, okay. Okay.
All right, it's probably giving me an error because of the code sign. Yeah. Because all my codes are,
Yeah,
I don't
because
have
even
it
just an
set up
example app that you're trying to run and you want to
with the
run on your
right
phone, you got to go through this
bundle.
process, right?
See if the simulator works.
Oh yeah, you
Wait,
saw
no, I
the
know what I can
images
do.
that they did on their side.
Let me try this. They're not leaving me alone. Yeah, it's me. They're paging me on the phone. All right. I don't know if it's going to allow me. Let me go to. I tell them that I'm doing this webinar and they still bother me.
Are you gonna do the star thing? Hey, I'm learning, huh? Is that Rob or Rob Jr.?
No, you know what? We'll have to do this some other day. I have to create another, and I want to get this phone call. I'm seeing the caller ID, so we will do another with this. Yeah, that's yeah. I'll get it working. Unfortunately, it didn't plan on that today. Otherwise, I would have pre-set it up. Yeah, well, no problem.
Might be critical.
Alrighty. I'll be on Skype chat. Yeah. Alrighty.
Okay.
All right. Take care, everyone. No problem.
Okay.
Bye.